Hey guys, welcome back. Today is the first video in the 3D Printing 101 series that we are going to do. Today we're going to cover hardware, specifically hardware on FDM type printers. This is a printer that just feeds filament and melts it onto a print bed. So let's get into the basics. More videos of this to come. Okay guys, there's a couple different kinds of printers. Well, I guess I'll call it consumer printers. There's FDM printers, which is what this type is, which feeds a filament and melts it onto a print bed. And then there's resin printing, and that uses a liquid that it hardens and creates a model. We're only going to talk about FDM printing in this one. I don't have a resin printer to go over yet, so we're sticking to FDM. And in a printer, you've got your three axes, right? You've got your X, which is what the hot end moves across. You've got your Y, which in this one, the bed moves in the Y as it prints. See the small movements? And then you've got your Z, which moves up and down. And that's done by a threaded rod right back here. That's what turns it and lifts it up slightly as it needs to go up. So anytime especially a lot of your 3D modeling software, which we'll get to in a minute, you're going to configure things in an X, Y, and Z's, and that'll make it sense, you know, that you can tell your printer basically how to lay something down. Okay, the main hardware parts of the printer are the extruder. This is called a Bowden setup. It'll feed filament in through this tube down here into that hot end, melt it, and lay it down on the print bed. So this is the other one, hot end. That's another important piece of hardware. You've got your power supply, which runs the whole thing. You've got your control board. Actually, it sits in here. This is your display. And you've got your stepper motors. You got motors that turn to feed the filament. And you've got motors in the back that run these belts. There's a motor behind here that runs the X. So each axis has a motor. There's one on the Z down here. There's also these end stops. That tells it where to stop. So when you're running your firmware, it knows what size of bed you have, how high you can go on the Z, how far you can go on the X and Y. That way, you know, it doesn't try to put something on here that won't fit, basically. But yeah, these are the end stops. Not really important right now, but we'll get to that later. And you're always going to have to get files on your computer. You're going to need an SD card. And this one uses a micro SD. I have big ape hands, so I went ahead and put this adapter on that reads a regular SD. I find it difficult to get that little micro in and out. You can see it also has a USB port, so you could hook this up to your computer, Raspberry Pi, whatever, running printing software, and send things directly to the printer from there. I personally like the SD card setup. The other one is more prone to errors. If you have noise on your USB, it's going to mess your print up, or if your PC gets overrun by something, it's going to mess your print up. So I like to keep them separate. I do have an Octoprint setup, which is a server software. Not going to cover that today, but maybe a future video about that. I've done some past videos about it, but we'll get to that in the 101 series eventually. But this is your control board. What you can do is you can preheat, you can kind of run a leveling routine to help level your bed. More on that later, but it's a knob and a click. So you basically, on this Ender 3, you click to select, you turn to do the knob. I'm not going to do that right now because we're in the middle of a print. But yeah, the basics. I got my filament up above this shelf, but filament comes into the extruder. It pushes it through this tube, down this hot end, that melts it in this X, Y, and Z configuration. You can see that gold gear pushes against this via a spring, this little pulley. The pulley just kind of guides it into the gold gear, and that gold gear is what feeds it into the blue tube. There's a stepper motor right here. We'll talk about more stepper motors here in a little bit, but the stepper motor is what's spinning that gold gear. It's got some teeth on it, grabs that filament, shoves it through this tube down into the hot end to be melted and put on the print bed. So there you have it, guys. That's a quick overview of the hardware of a 3D printer setup. I didn't go into details about rollers or anything like that. You know, that's probably a little more advanced. This is just a basics video. Next video we're going to do in the 101 series is software and what software we need to set up to get started 3D printing. You can get set up with 100% free software, which is pretty awesome. I'm going to cover the free software. I'm not going to cover the paid stuff. I consider that a little more advanced. But that's all we have for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Look forward to that next video. Going to be a bunch of videos in this series. I hope to release these to kind of spread this 3D printing bug. Thanks for watching.